confiscate their brass, create a fine democracy that's truly working class. As soon as this gate closes, as soon as this gate closes, as soon as this gate closes, the revolution starts. I'll fight some nasty forests.
Hi, welcome to Talk TV, or TV Talk. Today, I have 4 gentlemen who are, I'd call activists, and they're coming from different places. And we're going to be talking about the Salvage Logging Rider. And recently, I think 2 weeks ago, there was a, what we call a direct action up in the Kootenai National Forest. And I was curious about the whole situation, why you'd have a direct action, what was this salvage logging rider all about, and all those questions. And so I invited these 3 gentlemen down here. And could I have a wide shot, please, so I could introduce? Okay, great. Over here on my left, we have Glenn, and he's with the Native Forest Network. And John, over here, John Dillon. Would you just say you're an activist and you're not associated with any...
I'm a concerned citizen.
Concerned citizen, okay. And this is Jeff Jewell, and Jeff works with the Ecology Center, but also concerned citizen, I guess, like all of us.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'm starting off with just my own curiosity about it, and the first thing I'd want to know is what's this salvage logging rider all about, or what's the big deal? I've been hearing about it for a year or more, and I know there was a lot of fight to keep it from happening, but it happened. It was legislated in somehow, and so now it's there. So can you tell me, what it's about?
Gwen, it was signed into law July 27th of last year, 1995, and what it does is it basically suspends all environmental laws on federal public lands for timber sales.
Wow, that's just amazing, I think. And why do you think they managed to get that in now after years of all these environmental laws? And
well, I think what happened was that as people got more savvy on using the laws to stop what was excessive logging on our public lands, the industry then turned to this tactic of basically getting rid of the laws for a period of time, and it's due to expire this year. But the purpose was then to accelerate the logging and get rid of those laws that they wouldn't have been able to follow in doing this much logging.
well, I heard there was a forest health emergency, and so like suddenly we had all these dying trees, and things were going to really, all havoc was going to break loose if we didn't take care of that. So what, was there a big
start on
emergency?
that.
Yeah.
When the initiative for this law was started in, I think, like February of '95, the congressional hearings, there was no talk of a forest health crisis. There was talk of, we need timber, we want more timber, and how can we do it? What laws are in the way? I have a copy of that, at my office. And it's really been played up that it is a forest health crisis. But, I mean, to set the record straight, even the Forest Service at this point admits that it really doesn't have anything to do with the forest health problem. Hal Salwasser at a panel discussion last March even stated, and this is quoted, in answer to a moderator's question, he said, "Is the salvage logging rider a legitimate prescription for forest health, or is it simply logging without laws?" And he stated, "It is not a prescription for forest health. It is a mandate to expedite sales of dead and dying trees." So it has nothing to do with forest health.
Okay. So what's the problem with going in and logging quickly like this? What's the effect, or what's the problem?
Well, the big problem that I see it, as I see it, Gwen, is that when you accelerate the pace of the logging. The details of how to protect the environment while doing it are lost, and the purpose quickly becomes just getting the logs out of the forest.
Okay. Maybe, I don't know if people have seen a clear cut. If you haven't flown over one, it's pretty amazing. Maybe if you, in the back, they could queue up that clear cut footage, and then maybe one of you could talk about what's happening in the Kootenai National Forest, which is our prime example, although I presume it's happening all over. And they're working on that. They'll get it shortly. Okay. Just roll the tape. And you don't need to bring up the sound. It's just general airplane sound. Okay. So what do we have here?
Well, this is footage of what looks like an area that was burned in recent years and then logged. As you can see, there are huge areas where there are absolutely no trees.
Yeah, what does this mean to, I don't know, the forest as a whole? Is it like fish, wildlife, erosion? What's
Well, a lot of the problems with logging this way, and this is industrial logging, is that it fragments habitat for fish and wildlife, cutting it into smaller pieces with hard edges. And as you could see some of that footage, there were just trees, and then it ends quickly. Also, all the road building creates a lot of habitat damage to fish. What happens is the sediment goes off the roads and chokes the streams. Also, the water comes off too fast in the spring, or when the rain falls on the snow in the warm parts of the winter. And when that happens, it rips through the creeks, and actually it tears up the habitat in a lot of cases.
I think it's important to keep in mind that a burned forest or even a insect infestation is not necessarily an unhealthy forest. These kinds of things have been happening in the forests of North America for thousands of years, and should continue to happen for healthy forest ecosystems. And under the Salvage Rider, there are misnomers like, it's unhealthy, yet burned forests and forests that are decaying, are critical for shade, for charged soil, in the case of fire, moisture retention. If you take all those logs away, the exposure to the sun dries out the forest. The erosion is much more severe. So we need to allow this natural succession to occur and continue to occur.
Is any logging bad? I mean, not all logging is bad, or is that the end of logging, or just it's a difference between a clear cut and a thinning operation, or certain places you just don't want to log?
Well, as industrial forestry became the main mode of operation, we quickly forgot how we can sustain ourselves into forever in the future in favor of just short-term profits. So instead of focusing on how can we use our forest to sustain ourselves and not damage the forest for the long term, we've forgotten that. And there are ways to live in and among the forest that we have to find out how to do that again. I also wanted to add something about the Kootenai National Forest, because that was the place where the action was. And they're very fond of, even before the Salvage Rider, taking a natural event like an insect infestation or a wildfire and labeling it a catastrophe. And then, because they've done that and convinced the public that there's something wrong out there or something that needs to be fixed, then they'd go and clear-cut it heavily, building new roads, and say, well, that this doesn't matter now because we've taken out just the dead wood or whatever. And they are hiding the fact that the real catastrophe is when they do 200-acre clear-cuts, or in the case of the area where we were, 500-acre clear-cut.
Wow, wow. Do you think you could point out where the Kootenai is? I've been in Montana for 20 years, and I had never really been hiking up there until just this last summer. That was kind of part of my motivation, too. It's such a beautiful area, so.
Up in the very northwest corner of the state of Montana is the Kootenai River drainage coming out of Canada and then flowing into the panhandle of Idaho. And the areas surround that drainage, and some areas to the south, the Cabinet Mountains Wilderness, and some areas east of that towards Glacier are included in the boundaries of the Kootenai National Forest.
Okay.
And all of this area, I might add, is important habitat for grizzlies, bull trout, as Jeff mentioned, wolves as well. You know, very important creatures.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but this is a live call-in show, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to call. It's 542-6228. It's 542-MCAT. And when you do call, please turn down your TV so we don't hear this big echo in the background. And maybe if the somebody back in the studio could flash that number up now and then too. I'm going to just try this. MCAT TV Talk, Gwen speaking. Will you hold on just a second? I'm going to put on intercom. Hang on just a moment. Okay. This has worked 100 times. Could you hang on just a second there? Okay, thanks. Okay, could somebody in the back, like Mary, give me a little advice on what's wrong with this telephone? Great.
We might as well add,
Okay.
while this is going on, as far as salvage logging and removing all the supposedly dead and dying trees, is the dependent species that rely on trees that are dead and dying. And there's numerous species, and a lot of them happen to be threatened or sensitive species. So, you know, that's another big aspect of why extensive salvage logging is, you know, is detrimental to not only the environment, but particularly a lot of wildlife species.
Okay, just a second. All right.
Are you not getting somebody?
I'm not getting, it's not coming over the intercom. This is live TV, so.
They're there.
Okay, are you still there? Yes. Oh, great. Okay, thanks, Mary. All right, so you had a question?
Yes, I did, and forgive me, I just tuned in, so I don't know what you all have covered yet. But I just wanted to ask, number one, is this salvage, the appeals that you've done in the past no longer apply under the Salvage Rider, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, could you explain to me sort of the history of the Kootenai? Have you noticed that this has been a pattern as far as the sort of overcutting in the past, and how you've handled in the past with the appeals and how it's changed now, and just sort of explain to me what sort of path as an activist you've had to take in addressing some of the Kootenai issues under the Salvage Rider and how it's changed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
We have talked a little bit about that.
Okay, I apologize, as I said.
That's all right.
I'd be happy to hear it again.
I'll go into some more details as I know them. The Kootenai has used any and every excuse to turn what is a very diverse native forest, and John and Glenn were mentioning the species there, into what is essentially a tree farm where clear cutting is the main mode of logging. And in order to do that, and most efficiently in business terms, you have to put in a lot of miles of roads. And just since 1992, they have approved major timber sales in the Kootenai National Forest that violated forest plan standards, or they basically had to just waive the forest plan standards and say, we know we're going to create more roads than the forest plan allows, but we're just going to go ahead and do that anyway. Or we know that the clear cuts are bigger than the National Forest Management Act allows, but as I said before, we're going to call this a catastrophe. So particularly in the Kootenai, this has been going on. I might add that all the national forests in the northern region and the northern Rockies, similar situation has been going on. the Kootenai has just been the worst example of that.
Yeah. I'd like to show some footage of the action, unless this is another call here. I think we lost that the last caller. And talk about how, since you can't go the route of the appeals, you know, you're finding some of these other routes. And when we come back, I may have Woody in this chair for a little bit. So let me see. I think that caller maybe have just been for MCAT. So if you could cue it up to the footage of the, I think where the loggers enter. Okay, roll it. Okay. Why don't you cut that and fast forward maybe about a minute or 30 seconds into there. Okay. All right.
That shot was of a particularly heavily logged area. That one that was just up there for a second.
It's amazing. So it's
Rather ironic that they call that forest health.
yeah. Really have to look for us.
We want to stop this illegal timber sales.
Okay, how long are you guys planning on staying here?
Well, how long are you guys going to log this?
Question with a question. I just wondered what your intentions were today.
Well, we wanted to stop this timber sales best we could.
Okay, do you have any intention of unlocking and leaving?
Stop the sale. Yeah, we stop the sale. Cancel it.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let the music begin.
Don't ask for trouble, that's all matters. Oh, no.
Hey there.
We're back live.
We're not sure what we're supposed
Flying
to do.
free right now.
My name's Woody Beardsley. I'm with the Ruckus Society here in Missoula, Montana, and also a Citizens Against Lost Logging. And that was footage of part of the action that we did the other day. And I don't know, it was kind of interesting. We stopped the trucks from coming up the road and hauling logs out, and we detained a bunch of loggers from going both in and out of the sale for a full day, not only on this site, but in another location on the other part of the forest, because the Forest Service was confused and went to the wrong sale when we did the protest. They went to the wrong location. They were ready with the police and the Forest Service to bust us, and ended up going to the wrong location. So we had a real successful kind of 2 locations for one. Any callers out there, we take calls at this point, and we're not sure what you want to do in terms of the next piece of footage.
I'm going to show the loggers, the encounter with the loggers, just for a minute or so.
Do you want us to comment on that as we're watching
I'm
it?
going to just show like a couple, 30 seconds of it and comment as well.
Terrific.
Okay.
So they're going to roll up this footage of when the loggers actually...
What's going on, a party? Yeah, I guess so. Hi, my name's Steve. They're going to let us go home? Well, the gentleman would like to speak with whomever in charge. After me, go ahead. His head off? Start talking, let us go home. I suggest we just cut their heads off. Is the pretty big rep here? A what? Mike? I heard the logger come up talking to Mike Bill. Oh, he's the loader operator. I'm in charge of the guys. What do they want? All right. This guy wanted to say something. Shoot.
Did they know helicopter logging is the most environmental logging there is?
I'm sure that they do.
Are you guys coming out?
Yeah? For how long?
Till we come back to work tomorrow.
That kind of
Now we were just going to quit our wives and family.
Yeah. Kill kids don't need
These guys wanted out of the sale. One of them had a child custody court date. It was either child custody or payments, child support, that he had to get to a court date, and we didn't. Our bone wasn't so much with the loggers as it was with the Forest Service and their illegal practices, so we decided as a group to let him go. But I'll tell you, sitting there with a lock around your neck with your back to these guys and then talking about cutting your heads off, you don't really believe it, but it was a little bit spooky the day of the action. So we apologize. We're not exactly sure what we're supposed to be doing sitting here.
We can throw out just a couple facts, like economically. I mean, this affects everybody as a taxpayer. That salvage logging operations under this law, it's estimated that's going to cost taxpayers somewhere between $430 million and $1.6 billion, and that's our money going to destroy our forests. And there's something wrong with that. So, you know, we would almost like to just say anybody can do this. Anybody can write a letter. Anybody can call, and you know, you have a right to be upset about your money going to the wrong deeds.
Another thing is that for over 16 years anyway, this area in particular has been designated by the Fish and Wildlife Service to be Situation 1 grizzly bear habitat. This is one of the few areas in the lower 48 where grizzly bears still have some kind of a population, and granted it's thin up there, but for 16 years the Kootenai National Forest and the Fish and Wildlife Service have been ignoring the fact that they're supposed to be managing for grizzly bears. They're supposed to take the #1 priority. Well, it's pretty clear when you fly up there, when you drive around up there, that the #1 priority has been cutting trees, and it's coming to a real detriment to the bear, to bull trout, and to the economies of those local towns in the future.
And that's pretty much, I think, why we were there. You know, not only to block the sale, but to let everybody know that, you know, what's going on up there. And, you know, not only can you write letters or make phone calls, but stick your neck out, you know, whatever it takes to stop these injustices, not only economically, but most importantly for, you know, wildlife and wildness.
That's right. I think one of the major values that are lost is that we humans evolved in the forest, and that's our home too, and to turn it into an industrial tree farm will do nothing for our own spirits. And so we really belong there too, and to treat it as we have is a travesty.
Yeah, we have to use our voices to speak up for the things that don't have voices, like the trees and the wildlife. Without actions from, you know, citizens like us or you or anybody, this is just going to continue.
Yeah, we're citizens just like the rest of you, and if you want to make a difference, you can get in touch with Citizens Against Lawless Logging, the Ecology Center, and get involved. Come down, help write letters, come to the next action. There are going to be more of them up on the Kootenai and more in other forests in the region, so there's a lot of work to be done.
I'll just switch.
Okay, great.
You'll see Woody in the ending credits that are pretty amazing. It's definitely live TV. Let me see. I was kind of wondering what motivates, like, you guys who are in the action, you know, to do that, to put your necks out like that, and you know, because you risk arrest and maybe getting your arms bruised up a bit and some different things. So,
Well, you know, I think on the surface it looks like we're doing something maybe, I've heard the word radical used, or, you know,
Extreme.
disobedient, extreme, you know, but in the scheme of things, you know, the Boston Tea Party was radical, civil rights actions. Ralph Nader, I think, did some time in jail. You know, now we have seatbelts. I mean, these are just some of the examples of people who stand up for what they believe in. And you know, I'm not comparing myself to anybody like that, but it really, you know, people to watch these injustices go on is, you know, it's really almost un-American. You know, I think I mean, we need to stand up for what we believe in, and you know, learn. Obviously, you got to know what the facts around what you're doing. If you're going to stand up for something, understand the repercussions, but do stand up for what you believe in.
Okay. And the media was there. Was it partially for the media to help get it into people's living rooms? And
Well, yeah, the media is the vehicle to get people to be aware of what's going on. And I want to add something to what John just said, because you know, when I go up into the forest, not only the Kootenai but other forests around here, and I see what's going on, you know, the feeling of rage I feel is, what are they doing? Why are they destroying this beautiful forest? And what is the appropriate response? Some people have suggested, you know, things like monkey wrenching, but that's illegal and that's dangerous. I've written hundreds of appeals. I've written hundreds and hundreds of comments to the Forest Service asking them to not carry on this industrial logging. And when they take the laws away, like they did, there is no legal recourse we have. What we did was not radical in the full spectrum of actions. What we did was rather mild. We just simply sat in the road and blocked it. We did not threaten anybody. We just tried to make our voices heard in a direct way, which is definition of direct action, really confronting the problem without being unruly or chaotic. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, that you can do it and that you do it. It does do a lot of good. It got me interested too. So I think that's all we have for now. This should replay Monday at 1:30, and we just have some ending credits. Any parting last? We have 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left. Okay. So any final words or?
Just
save the forests.
Oh, okay. They're rolling the credits.
Picnic basket, but he don't get far in a clear cut. And his mama cries. 'Cause if there's one thing that she don't need, it's just another hungry cub to feed in a clear cut. On a cold and gray Montana morn, another little grizzly bear is born in a clear cut.